Welcome, and we're going to get started. And we're going to start with a welcome from Commissioner Barbara Baca. So I'd like to invite her to the front of the room now.
Okay, can you hear me? Thank you, Dr. Hill. And thank you all very much for coming to this, what is, I feel, really important dialogue for Bernalillo County, working with our community to talk about how we improve our economy, how we improve what we do at the local level in government. We incentivize outside businesses to come in, but what we're talking about today also is supporting small and mid-sized businesses, which is super important to me, near and dear to my heart, my family. And so I'm really looking forward to the dialogue today. But just please know that this is one of many community dialogues, and please tell your friends to participate in future ones too, because we really want this to be, especially on the west side. So I'm a west sider, and we have a lot of rooftops. We need to create more jobs to have the job residential balance. How do we do that and respect the residences that are here, the natural resources that are here, like as I was driving up and looking at the beautiful escarpment and our open spaces and those kinds of things. Those are equally important to drawing good quality business and community investment in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. So it's a joy to be here. Thank you all for coming, and Dr. Hill, take it away. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Baca. And I'll just say this, is she's very gracious, very busy, may have to leave us a little early. So if she does have to leave early, you can blame me for that. So again, welcome. We are going to have you here until about 7 o'clock tonight, talking about economic development. I'm glad that's queued up. We're also going to have a welcome from the Deputy County Manager here in a video. So we want to show that to you now.
Hello, I'm Marcos Gonzalez, Executive Development Officer for Bernalillo County. Thank you for attending this community dialogue. So why are we here today? The goal of economic development at Bernalillo County is to create an environment for businesses to thrive and improve the quality of life of all county residents. We have organized these community dialogues in response to a request from the Bernalillo County Commission. We want to hear what you think is important related to economic development. Your comments will be used to develop the Economic Development Department's future strategies and programming. They will also guide any amendments that may be necessary to add to our financing policies in order to deliver these community-informed strategies. We appreciate your time and being part of this conversation. We invite you to continue to engage throughout this process by accessing our materials and research on our website, attending other meetings, and completing our stakeholder survey. We look forward to sharing all of this information gathered in this process with our County Commission as well as with you. Thank you.
All right, so we've had a couple of these meetings already, one in the South Valley, and the second was in the North Valley. This is our third, there'll be a couple more. In each dialogue, we actually walk through this agenda. Each one has a different set of topics. So we will, here in a second, start your first dialogue at your table to get your sense of how you think about economic development. And then we'll move through 2 half-an-hour sessions where we'll be asking you to answer some questions, and I will just quickly show you on each table there's a little box like this, a little toolbox, and inside of it there are some half sheets, white ones. There's one red half sheet in each one. As we go out through the course of the dialogue, if you have a need to ask a question, you need any kind of support or help, just wave this little guy and we will come running. Not a big room, so I don't have to run far. That's a good thing, right? So we also have translation services available in the room. And actually, Where are our translators? Here and there, both in this backside of the room. Do you all want to say anything about the services? Sorry.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'll be asking if anybody needs interpreting services that doesn't already have a device. ¿Hay alguien que necesite servicio de interpretación en español que ya no tenga un dispositivo? ¿No? ¿Interpretación en español? Okay, gracias. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. We want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to engage the dialogue. And again, as we move throughout the course of the evening, if you have questions or you need anything, just wave that little card so we'll know to come running. So, a couple of things as we talk about being in the dialogue itself, in our conversations at your tables. So one is we ask you to be active in your conversation, right? Like be sure to provide your voice in your table setting around the topics. Always ask folks to both speak and listen with respect. Everything that's communicated at the tables you may not totally agree with, but part of us having a robust dialogue is being able to actually hear with intent and be respectful, and then respectfully say, well, here's how I think about that. It gives us the best chance to both be heard and, right, to continue to understand what we're talking about. If there is something you don't understand in your dialogue, ask folks for clarification. You know, just ask quickly, like, can you clarify what you mean about that? Or just, what's another way you might be able to say that? And again, if you need us, just wave the little, yep, that's it. All right. So we're going to start with the very first conversation. Again, in your little toolboxes, you have markers, you have pens, and you have white half sheets. I'm going to ask you to grab the half sheets and make sure everyone at your table has one of these. And this is the tricky part of the instruction right here. So we're going to ask you to tell everybody at your table your name, what part of the county you come from. Some of the dialogues, people travel from different places. And then be in a discussion about what economic development means to you and put your answer on your half sheet. So you can put your answer on your half sheet and then have a discussion about what it means to you. And each person take a little bit of time to let folks know. We'll give you 5-6 minutes in that discussion. You do not have to write down your name or what part of the county that you're from. You can just answer, what does economic development mean to you, okay? And I'll actually invite folks, if you've been in any of the other dialogues a couple times, you don't actually have to answer this question again. It's like, I want to answer it again. No, so, okay, so let's give you the next 5 or 6 minutes. Again, let folks know your name, what part of the county you're from, and then on your half sheets, capture what does economic development mean to you? And then be in a little bit of discussion about that. Right. So that was our little Jeopardy theme music, bringing this first conversation to an end. So I'm going to ask you all if somebody at your table would kind of grab all of those half sheets, and we'll ask Antonio to come around and actually pick them up from you. All right. So we're going to get ready to jump into the first of our 2 longer dialogues. We still have some folks joining us, so bear with us. We're trying to get folks at tables where they can be a part of a full discussion, as opposed to sitting over here and just looking at me. So, right? Wouldn't be much fun, right? We are going to our first dialogue, as Commissioner Baca mentioned, is going to be about small business support. And what we're trying to get some more information about from you all is how you think about small business support, what kind of support small businesses might need, and how the county can think of strategies that'll help develop small businesses in a way that's beneficial to both them and the rest of the community. So you have on your tables, and you might have already gotten into them. I saw a couple people looking. A manila envelope like this one. There are questionnaires with these questions in the manila envelope, and there should be 10 people at each table. There are 10 questionnaires. If you need an extra one, just let us know. We have extra copies. So the first question is, how can local government better support small businesses to support their growth and sustainability as they're in competitive markets? We want you to start with that question at your table, and we're going to give you 20 minutes or so to work through these two questions. But just start with that first question. You can jot your answer, or you can listen as folks talk. And then in about 10 minutes, I'll make a call that if you haven't already pivoted to the second question, we'll give you a prompt to pivot to the second question. All right, so again, we want you to work on to start your dialogue, and we're going to give you about 20 minutes here. How can local government better support small businesses to support their growth and sustainability? So we'll ask you to start that dialogue now. You can answer your question and then have a discussion, or you can have a discussion to help you answer your question. Either way is appropriate. All right, folks, we're right around half of our time. If your discussions haven't already incorporated the second question, we'll ask you to be mindful of pivoting to that second question and incorporating that in your conversation. All right, folks, you got about 10 more minutes in this discussion. So I'm going to re-emphasize, if you haven't jotted your answers down, we want to make sure that you do. That is how we know what you are thinking about in terms of both of these questions. So first piece of instruction, that envelope that you had in the middle of your table, if someone will grab all of the sheets that you've written on, put them back in those envelopes, and then we're going to have some folks come around and pick those up from you. While they're picking them up, they're also going to deliver you your next packet for our second conversation. So if you would, Sierra and Anita, we have a couple college students on summer break. Well, 3, Dominic, Sierra, and Anita. While they are exchanging out your packets, I'm going to throw it over to Antonio very quickly. He's going to just walk through from your first question, what does economic development mean to you? He's going to walk through the themes that emerge from there.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Hill. Yeah, so as you can see on the sticky board, we pulled out 3 overarching themes, obviously within what you guys have written in your papers. There's a couple of things that we can also find in there, but we wanted to find 3 main categories that we can connect with duplicated terms, right? Whatever you guys wrote is going to be memorialized, so that won't be lost. I just want to also provide that. But the majority of you guys, or a lot of you guys, have talked about opportunity as being really important in economic development, right? So that's having the opportunity to enter into the economy in some way, right? Also growth, specifically around small business and growth within communities. And also community was a really big part of opportunity as well. Growth was an aspect that people really wanted to see. So this is allowing small businesses to tap into some, either whatever's created here in these opportunities, some funding, whatever that looks like, to develop small businesses and to really start growing our infrastructure. As you can see, the third theme is how do we continue this into the future, right? So a lot of people talked about sustainability as really important. So obviously creating the opportunity, allowing the growth to happen, but how do we maintain that growth over time? And a lot of people talked about creating an infrastructure that is sustainable to see our communities thrive and develop into the future. So these are some of the 3 main topics, and like I said before, we'll memorialize everything you guys wrote on these sheets of paper and make sure we capture your voices. Dr. Hill, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else.
No, thank you. And just to say what they've just walked through is a very high level of what we call theming analysis. So looking at language data to see what themes emerge. The other thing that you're seeing there are in the categories are frequency analysis. Things that were said most often, most frequently, are grouped together. So those 2 kind of language analyses give us a sense of what you all are saying both individually when we look at the card and then as a group. So so all of your answers and all of your data will actually go through a process like that to be distilled, so that when the commissioners and the steering committee and the folks who are the county staff are trying to put together the best economic development policies, they literally will have benefit of your voice to do that. So again, we appreciate you all being here, and as soon as I say thank you, now I'm going to put you back to work. So we have a second question. So this second dialogue, first one was around small business support. The second one is around infrastructure, which I know is always sexy. Sidewalks, pavement. We don't care about it till you don't have it, right? So again, we'll do this the same way. We'll give you a large block of time. First question, in what ways does infrastructure development impact the growth of local economies, particularly in underserved areas? So again, we'll ask you to be in that discussion, spend about half of your time there. Just be conscious of the second question. How can investments in infrastructure be aligned with the needs of local communities to ensure that communities benefit fully from them? So, large conversation, 2 questions, and I'll provide a couple prompts like I did before, just to help you pivot if you haven't. All right, so we're going to ask you to start your dialogue on the second question now. All right, folks, you have about 5 more minutes before we bring our final discussion to a close. And we are going to ask at least one person from each table, actually one person from each table, to report out to let us know what you talked about over the course of the evening. So you got about 5 more minutes left, and then we'll ask some lucky person to get voluntold to report out.
We got about 1 more minute left. Want to start encouraging you guys to get all of your papers into that manila folder, and we'll have somebody come around and pick that up from you guys. Also, I hope you guys selected somebody at your table to do their report outs. All right, guys. So as we're coming into this final moments together, we gave you guys the opportunity to have some conversations within your groups, within community members that are seated at your table. Now we want to provide the opportunity for you guys to hear from other community members from other tables, all right? So we're going to ask each person who was voluntold at their tables to briefly, about 1 minute, share out to the entire group about what you guys talked about at your tables. Sorry? Just an overall, overall report back. All right? So who was voluntold? Right over here. I'll give you the, here you go.
Is this working? Does it work? Oh, okay. Okay, good. Lan Senna, and I was voluntold by my group table. The overall sentiment of our group table was also utilizing other examples throughout the country, but specifically evaluating areas of the city that would be dedicated towards locally owned small businesses to develop there, but also creating site-ready areas throughout the city as well. Creating infrastructure needs that are not centered around a vehicle, but also thinking about public transit and infrastructure that addresses the needs of all of our communities, such as affordable housing, internet access, and thinking also as well as, there's one other component that I might have forgotten. So I talked about public transit. So yeah, I think that was the general sentiment. And pedestrian and more walkability, bicycles, especially for the west side.
Excellent.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for this group. All right, who's next? All right, who's voluntold over here? All right, we got
Voluntold, that's the perfect word for it. Like, oh my gosh. So our group over here, we centered our conversation around like quality of life over time. Like how can we sponsor that and foster that in a local community? And where does that lie at like the axes of local governments, businesses, individual actors, and infrastructure? So we kind of centered, first you got to have, transparent, clear communication that leads to collaboration and thus coordination between all these levels of players and all these different players. And then we talked about, specifically to local businesses, we need to have, sponsor education, education that reflects the needs of our community. So, what workforce are we needing and how can our education reflect what we need in our community? And kind of going along with that, realizing who we are, like what are our limits? Is water, like here, we don't have water, so what is gonna be our limits? We're not gonna be the next New York or whatever. So, realize what our boundaries are. Infrastructure-wise, instead of building a city that is about extraction and profit, how can we center it around quality of life and people being happy, and not just like happy, but also to support that first point of clear communication. How can community members live in a city where they can communicate with each other, whether it be having a park where people hang out and talk and realize that they're humans. And then finally, between that collaboration between governments and local businesses and individuals, again, we can't be over-promising and underperforming. So that's really what we centered our conversation around.
Nice job.
All right, let's give them a round of applause. Some good stuff. Also, I forgot to mention that after the report outs, I'll collect those manila folders from you. So just make sure you have them in there, and I'll come back around and pick up your guys's, and then I'll pick up your guys's next. All right? Who's next? Right over here?
Yeah,
awesome.
This is the elder table, so before we forget, we were discussing first, the participation in government and more breaks, tax breaks or less fees is, it takes a lot, just to start your business, and most of the first years of the business is just to pay, the government, and you never get it into your feet, So that was one of the issues, and we also discussed artificial intelligence. If we could get artificial intelligence implemented, just not to help our cops to give us more tickets, but to help our businesses to, progress and see how we can use that new technology to progress. And access, let's say, to ChatGPT, but the best that we have, the ones that we cannot pay as individuals. And infrastructure, it was very cultural, the talks, there's a lot of division in structural rights, the people develop, to some specific group of people instead of evenly into all the communities. And I was feeling that changes the structural equality that our community needs. So decentralize, the economic system into an infrastructure that catches the outsides instead of the insides, and not only the convenience of the big companies.
Excellent. Nice.
Let's give them a round of applause. That was awesome. I'll take yours over here.
That sounds like y'all
Thank you,
popular.
Litzy.
Outside.
All right. I guess by process of elimination. So yes, I too was voluntold. So around, a lot of it was around education. Being able to help people understand what it takes to be a business owner, educating on the structure of business ownership, and then the potential of having an actual location like an incubator, I believe is kind of how we refer to it, where people can go learn about business, understand business, and develop from there. And then the other part around infrastructure was, and this way I understood it, was the simplicity changes. A lot of things that we can make adjustments to that may be a little bit easier to do that have a large impact. From community, utilizing different spaces instead of large buildings where corporations may move in, to where we have structures that have living spaces at the top, and then we have businesses, what was the term you used? Mixed use locations as well. So then the culture stays here, it develops, it thrives, but then we also have the business side of it where that revenue, potential for revenue generation, and then evolution also as well. So we had a great conversation around those things.
Excellent.
Awesome. That was excellent, guys. So a lot of great common themes, right, across a couple of the tables. Education, right, in order to reduce the barrier to entry into the economy. Also providing a little bit more infrastructure support and participation within that infrastructure that benefits our communities. But thank you guys all for this wonderful conversation, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Hill.
Right on. Thank you, Antonio. And we did promise you, I mentioned we would be done at 7, so I'm gonna try to get you out here on 7. So I got like a minute. I'm gonna give you a talk real fast. Couple things. So I mentioned this data will receive an analysis just to look at themes, trends, and frequency to give a little bit of coherence to all the data, and we're doing that with all the conversations. There are, I think, 2 more scheduled conversations. You're welcome to participate in those if you'd like to. The next one will be in the East Mountains. The one after that will be at the Highland Theater. You should also, on your tables, there is a little QR code here. If you go to this QR code, there's a survey that you can fill out that goes in depth in other areas around economic development. So there are multiple ways for you to be a part of this data gathering project, putting your input. This QR code leads to a survey. We're doing these conversations. The county on its website has a bunch of other information. There are also some focus groups that if you want to go much deeper into some of this information, you're encouraged to reach out and connect to some of those focus groups. Lastly, there's a little card here with the QR code and some other information on it. So with that, it is 7 p.m. I don't want to make a liar out of myself, right? But again, we want to thank you. We want to thank all the Bernalillo County staff who helped set all this up and arrange it, all the folks in the back doing AV work. And they're steering committee members throughout this group of folks, so I want to thank them as well. So thank you all for your input. It's incredibly important. And we want to make sure that if you do want to see any of this stuff from the previous dialogues of this one, you can go to this website and there's information up there with everything that we've collected. All right, have a very good night and please be safe on your way home.